later on in life. And with biotech, that's incredible capabilities.
5.8 billion people in the world today, about 1.5 billion of them in abject poverty. About 1 person in 7, about 800 million people in the world, so malnourished that they cannot participate in work life or in family life, living on the edge of starvation.
Genetic engineering clearly falls right within the Green Revolution mindset. It's another productionist approach to dealing with problems of hunger, if indeed it really exists to deal with hunger at all. That's what Monsanto and other companies would have us believe. Probably it deals more with their bottom line than hunger, but let's take them at their word, at face value, and say it's an approach to dealing with hunger. First of all, if it could increase yields, that doesn't necessarily mean that it would have a positive impact on hunger. Just like the Green Revolution, it's an expensive technology. Genetically altered seeds are much more expensive than normal seeds. They usually require a technological package like Roundup herbicide that's expensive that goes with them, and they're clearly going to create the same kind of economy of scale that puts smaller, poorer farmers at a disadvantage, just like the Green Revolution. So even if they did significantly increase yields, they would still be likely to lead us back into the paradox of plenty. More production, more hunger, more poverty.
Yeah, there is hunger, and many of us are told that there is so much hunger because there are too many of us. It's because of overpopulation, and we need to grow more food, as the people indulging in genetic engineering would like us to believe, and people who have promoted industrial agriculture, green revolution. But we have to really understand that there is no problem of food production. In fact, the problem in the United States right now is overproduction. And yet, according to USDA last year, the number of people who do not have adequate access to food had increased from 30 million from previous year to 36 million Americans not having adequate access to food. And the reasons for those people not having enough food to eat, or for the fact that the 800 million people who are undernourished in this world, lies in the fact that there is too much of social and economic inequality.
If 800 million people are hungry today, every one of those 800 million people 10, 20, 30 years ago used to grow their food and feed themselves. World hunger is created by destroying people's capacity to feed themselves, which includes both the destruction of small farming systems as well as the destruction of people's entitlements through a highly inequitable economic structure which creates corporate welfare by robbing the poor of their welfare. And that's in the rich countries and that's in the poor countries. 70% of the world today is fed by small-scale farming. Most of the food needs of the poorer parts of humanity are met by having biodiversity-rich farming. Biodiversity will feed the world, not chemicals. Ecological cycles will feed the world, not genetic engineering.
I really think that this technology has an awful lot to offer to small farmers like my father, because in my early life we couldn't afford actually to buy a lot of the chemicals, fertilizers or pesticides, etc., that you see used so much over here. And we lost a lot of our crops. We wouldn't have the same level of productivity, and we lost a lot of our crops to both diseases in the field and at the post-harvest level. And I thought with biotech, there's such incredible capability of using that totally organic substance, DNA, to be able to improve the lot of farmers.
The farmers that have embraced genetic engineering are the farmers that are the large agribusiness farmers, growing huge, enormous monoculture tracts of different soybean varieties or cotton varieties, or in the Midwest, the corn varieties that are now genetically engineered.
It is so easy to call anyone a farmer. Monsanto would like to call itself a farmer. In fact, very often in international negotiations, the issue is, can corporations be farmers? And they would like themselves to be called farmers. Anyone who has an interest in making money out of agriculture calls themselves a farmer. But we have a very clear definition that the FAO has: those who labor with the soil, with biodiversity to produce food. The connection with laboring is what makes a farmer. And those who don't actually work on the land, work in fisheries, work in forest-based agricultural production, are not farmers. And therefore many representatives, so-called, and many institutions, so-called, that are created to clamor for biotech seeds are basically France, Monsanto France, their biotech company France.
A box of VTS, which is like $3 something, only less than 10 cents of it goes to the farmer in this country who grows wheat. So the question lies, where does the rest of the money go? And that's when it becomes very important to look at the vertical and horizontal integration of the food industry. Then it goes into packaging, it goes into shipping. So you have a situation where, according to the latest census, there is no category of farmer on a census, because when less than 1% of the population is involved in a profession, they cease to exist. So I said that they're on the brink of extinction in this country, family farmers. But if you look at the census figures, they're already extinct.
The food processing system is really owned by multinational corporations, and we've lost control of our food supply. And right now we're in a situation of how do we get it back? I think we support organic farmers, and I think we support organic farmers in our local areas. I think it's important that we begin to get back to our roots, where we shake hands with our farmers. We go to the farmers markets and we say, how did you grow these foods? Where's your farm? Can I come out and take a look? Can I walk around? Is it close by? Boy, I'd love to get to know you a little bit, find out some philosophies behind how you grow your food.
My name's Jason McKenney, and I'm a principal operator here for Purisma Greens Farm.
I'm Katie Dwight, and I work with Jason here, and we both live in San Francisco and commute down here together and bring most of our vegetables back up to the city or to people on the coast here in Half Moon Bay.
We're a very small-scale organic operation, growing on basically a 4.5 acre plot. Pretty much single truck, single tractor operation, going to farmers markets, going to a community-supported agriculture program, and sales to restaurants too. The kind of agriculture that we practice here is a very human-scale agriculture. You know, we are talking about 2 people growing, you know, anywhere between 60 to 70 different varieties of vegetables and fruits on a very small garden-like plot of land for essentially 8 to 9 months of the year. And it's really a very different scenario given the very personal care that we're able to give to everything, not to mention even all of the different organic techniques that we use for soil maintenance.
A lot of people, if they think about, you know, oh, I want to start a farm, or I'm interested in farming, they maybe have a kind of idealized view of what that's all about. And
it's a bucolic crock.
Between weeding and harvesting, that's just about all we do. And people don't think about what that means.
I don't know what people think. They think, oh yeah, the farm, that'd be great. I'll go out there and, I don't know, what do they think? Sit around in the sun or something?
Well, maybe get other people to do the harvesting and weeding.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out the other day how long it usually takes us to build a pile. And it kind of depends on the time of the year, depending on how much manure we can collect. But for a good part of the year, we're building them 3 mornings a week. So I think it takes us maybe a month, a little over a month or so.
So CSA, I guess what I feel so strongly about it is that one thing I think we lack in our society today is community, and just a real strong, solid community. And so I think food is the basis of could be the basis of any community, because we all need it and it nurtures all of us. So giving good food to people and making that connection, I think it's a perfect way to create community. And it also allows for people who can't have a direct connection with the land, to get a connection through the people that grow the food for them.
CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture, describes a relationship between a group of people gathered around purchasing and committing to purchase their food, generally produce, directly from a farm.
Live Power was one of the earlier CSAs, and I think has a slightly different concept than a lot of CSAs. A lot of CSAs are more like subscription farms where you'll get a box every week, but there isn't the sort of extended community involvement that Live Power has. Trips to the farms. We actually sort the vegetables each Saturday morning. So, you know, where another CSA, you go to a spot and pick up a box that's already set up for you. We take the vegetables as they come down from the farm and spread it out among the shareholders' baskets.
Yeah, it's seasonal, and they grow in Mendocino County in a valley that's high up. The season is May to early December. So in May, it's spring vegetables, lots of greens. And then summertime, it's summer vegetables, tomatoes and corn, summer squash, and then into the fall, which is always this incredible transition.
I love greens and winter squash and root vegetables, and I always welcome that time of year in terms of food.
Initially, the first couple of years, it was a little daunting, you know. It's like, oh, and you know, what do we do with, you know, we'd get cabbages in the spring and in the fall, giant cabbages. We still, sometimes they're a bit daunting, but, you know, you knew you had to start really getting into the cycle, which now I love.
It's a radically different relationship because it's an economic relationship of association, not of competition, and there's a common good that both parties are working toward, and that is the sort of sustaining of that farm. And it feels like the right thing to do.
They use apprentice labor on the farm. Steve and Gloria really committed to the educational aspects of the apprenticeship program, and they've started up sharing with a few other farms, so the apprentices will go away for a weekend and go to another farm to learn different things from that farm.
One of the perennial issues for small farmers is sort of how to keep going. There's been such a loss of farmers in this country, and the effort to provide an environment for people to learn and to learn sustainable farming practices is a really significant part of what Live Power Community Farm is doing.
We need to be working with CSAs to ensure that their programs are available in inner city areas, low-income areas.
In a lot of ways, the Community Supported Agriculture Program hasn't really penetrated that kind of a socioeconomic difference or strata. You know, it really plays into a stigma that I find consistently distressing, is people thinking that organic food is really just for rich people. But that's a really big reason why we bring stuff to the Alemany Farmers Market in the southern part of San Francisco, which is, and there are various farmers markets in the region, and a lot of the markets have an extremely different feel to them. Some of the markets are kind of even more sort of shishi and yuppified than a Whole Foods market, and the prices, the prices and the varieties of food that are there really show it. Alemany is definitely like a very lowbrow market. It's a place where people go for bargains.
Yeah, but would you pick on that? 10 pounds, $3. 10 pounds, $3. 10 pounds, $3.
People don't really think or care about organic there, and I think that's a really big reason why we go there. It's because, it's in our community, and it's a way of bringing food, that we know, it's direct from here, so we can give a really good price for organic food. and what, you know, in many cases ends up being a very good price, you know, that people even expect just at the market itself. And I think it's really had a pretty positive effect. There's been a lot of people, you know, who, you know, I wouldn't call them like organic converts necessarily, but like they know, they say this stuff tastes a hell of a lot better than the guy next to you. I think in terms of addressing that kind of a disparity that exists between, you know, in the organic market, the farmers market is a much more viable tool for it than the community supported agriculture program.
I think for all of us who care about food, this is a very exciting moment, and especially at Seattle, at the World Trade Organization, we saw the role that the food and agriculture movement, not just in this country but from around the world, played in mobilizing people, the younger people, the elderly, women, children, just about everyone. And so we are at this real important point in time where we can demand a basic human right to safe, nutritious food. We have to build on a success from Seattle and demand a basic human right to that food.
The entire edifice of genetic engineering is built on a reductionist Cartesian world order, that genes are frozen, discrete atoms. They have no relationships with anything else. They will stay and behave exactly as you decide their traits and qualities are. That's not how the world functions. The world functions through relationships. The world functions through constant dynamic flux. There are no discrete entities in biology. Genes are a total theoretical construction.
May well decide whether mankind is bettered or destroyed by the products of science.